Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo, and welcome on board, everybody. Look forward to spending the next half an hour with you, everyone, and also you, James, of course. This is our first one of the new year, so I suppose we better make it a good one.
Well, we better say Happy New Year, first of all. So happy 2023, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, whether you're listening live or listening on replay. If you are, just enter in a little comment. It'd be good if you can interact with us through the day. What I'm really excited about, Jo, this year is we've taken a very conscious decision to sort of make sure we invite the good and the great of the recruitment industry to our sessions. So please do keep an eye out for our guests that will be sort of sprinkling throughout the year. So, obviously we want to sort of share with people best practice and ideas from people around the world. So, it's not just about Jo and I talking, although we do enjoy doing that, don't we, Jo?
Yes. I mean, let's face it, I'm sure we probably do like the sound of our own voices. But yeah, absolutely. Some of the guests that we've got coming on this year are brilliant. So we're starting to line those up. And, I think it's great to hear from other people who have been there and done it. So we're going to get quite a lot of that. I think we're also going to get quite a lot of people who've been there and tried it and maybe failed and then gone about it in a different way and then succeed. And I think that's equally as useful as important. So we will have a whole array of guests this year. Plus, of course, some of the sessions, which will be myself and James, hopefully dispensing our pearls of wisdom across the LinkedIn.
Yeah, I like what you said there. I like what you said there, Jo, with regards to people listening, because when you've been in recruitment, quite often we've all tried this to make this transition or take this journey to go through, from just peddling contingent recruitment. I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion at all. It's a fast-moving, fast-paced environment, and trying to sort of elevate yourself where you can actually get paid for your time more and more. And a lot of people, including myself, tried and failed before succeeding, because if it was that easy, then that's the way the world of recruitment would be. And obviously it's not that way. It's a highly competitive, highly fragmented market. For those who are listening in the UK, we all know that there are over 30,000 recruitment agencies, which means there's at least one more in your space. So, and no matter how specialist the niche you think you are, you've got that. And there are over 190,000 recruitment agencies registered according to the World Employment Confederation around the world. So we're in a very competitive marketplace. And you've got to be able to elevate yourself out of the mainstream and show clients that actually you do something very, very differently. And we've got a great phrase that we use in training, Jo, that candidates are clients in disguise and clients are candidates in disguise. So we're not just talking about the transition of trying to go out there and win retained work. You've also got to look at, a really important part of the market at this moment in time, which is the candidate element, because, that's become pretty tough out there. That's certainly not the feedback that we've been hearing. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes think that candidates get a bit of a bum deal when it comes to our recruitment service provision. I think we talk a lot, don't we, about providing excellent service to clients. So best in show service to your clients, to create client advocacy and everything. And then when it comes to candidates, the vast majority of recruiters don't really sell to candidates. We don't have any kind of strategic approach to being able to win them. So why should candidates use us over others? And I think that's becoming more and more useful and apparent as the candidate market starts to shrink. We know we've got a lot of clients that I intro here who are working in markets where candidates are in a limited supply. There aren't as many. They are harder to find and engage. So you've got to work harder. And how many people now are starting to find their own jobs? And you do have to think, when people are starting to find their own jobs, why is that? Is it because they think they can do it better and faster than a recruiter? Which I think is an indication that we need to up our game when it comes to targets around candidate service provision as well as clients. So that's what we're going to focus on today, isn't it, James?
Yeah, amongst other things. And whilst if I looked a little bit distracted there, and I just wanted to double check something I want to share with you. So I was just tapping something into my computer. So apologies if I was looking away from the screen. I think one of those things when you talk about the way that candidates are felt, and we all know this in terms of, we sometimes talk that, candidates are treated like commodities. They're ghosted by recruiters. They can't get responses. And I was working with one of our clients last year, and we were doing a lot of work around candidates, and obviously there's a lot of apathy from candidates. I mean, candidates just don't get back in touch with you. They don't know what they've sent to you because they're clicking links and applying for jobs on job boards and websites and goodness knows what. But this relationship between the recruiter and the candidate is a pivotal one. And it's something we do need to change. And so the thing I was just typing into my computer. So if you want to try this at home, so to speak, just go.
Stand by. I think I know what you've just done.
Yeah. Well, I just want to double check. So just go onto Google and type the words, 2 words, recruiters are. And the first suggestions that come up are trash. Then, are key to gender solution. Shady. Okay. I like the next one. Sociopaths. Annoying. Not your friends. Those are the suggestions that come up. Now that means that we've got a broken relationship between recruiters, and there's an element of trust out there. Now here on this within our audience today, of course, we're not going to be able to turn that round. That is a massive oil tanker, but we can all do our little bit, and it's all to do with that reaction and interaction that you have with your candidates. And I think you really do need to think about that. And I think it's sort of one of the points that we put up on the trailer for this today, Joe, is in terms of what can we do to help transform the perception of candidates with recruiters. And it's a little bit trite just to say, just be better. I think we've got to sort of help the candidates understand what your role is in this. Now last year we introduced a new element to our platform, which we're going to be rolling out fully, through 2023 and beyond. And it's all to do with Talent Alert Pro, which is about promoting candidates. But in that, I think I spoke about the analogy. I never get this quite right, but the analogy that I gave between a recruiter and the film Jerry Maguire. And I think I probably said last year that when we say Jerry Maguire, everybody says, show me the money, because that's the bit we all remember, because it's the funny part. But actually it was the interaction that Jerry had with his candidate Rob Tidwell. He'd formed a relationship, a bond, that kind of, and he said, I'm going to, he did not say that he said the exact words, but I'm going to look after you because it's my job to place you. Now, I know that in the general world of recruitment, you can't place every candidate that you come into contact with. It's just impossible. But nonetheless, you can actually sort of, make them feel positive about how you will treat them. And you have to have your customer charter or your candidate charter to say that, you will get back to every candidate. You will respond to them personally in those cases. Now, when you're dealing with high volume recruitment, that's where the transition over towards more of a retained or exclusive contingent work, you're probably going to be dealing with a lower volume of candidates anyway, because you're going to be doing more searching rather than spraying and praying and advertising. But with those candidates, I think you can start to introduce, how well you're going to look after them, but more importantly, how well you look after your candidates and what they go on to. So we was talking about in marketing. Let's get a case study for, how we work with clients and how we deliver a solution to clients. Well, maybe think about case studying your candidates. And I just think there's something that we can really do there, Joe, that's going to help them. So I'm going to stop talking for a second, let you throw some. I've got something else I want to add into this one, but you might come up with it as well. So I'll hand over to you and let people hear your voice for a few minutes.
Well, no, I think you made a really good point there that, when we talk about giving case studies and testimonials, I think that's a really good idea. I think they're great for marketing purposes. I think they help to, demonstrate our credibility out there. So if you have got candidates and clients that you provided a really good service to last year and you haven't proactively gone out and asked for a testimonial, now is a really good time to do it. Before Christmas was a really good time to do it. That was also a really good time to do service reviews with all the people that you placed to see if you... Yes, exactly. Well, that, and also, yes, wish them Merry Christmas. Make any refinements that you needed to your service in time for the new year. So you kickstart the new year with a refined service provision. But, it's never too late. If you didn't do it, then now, again, January is a really good time to go out and do it. Because we talk a lot, don't we, James, about, like you just said, we want to be better, we want to be different. But what does that actually look like? You can listen to us, we can sort of give you our advice on what we think is going to differentiate you in the market and what we see thousands of recruiters and hundreds of recruitment businesses doing that's differentiating them and making them stand out. But actually, the only people that are really going to know what's going to look good to them is your candidates and clients. So today is really all about targets. It's about targets that you can set within your business or your desk that are going to really help to accelerate you, particularly into Q1. Q1 is absolutely critical for us because it sets the scene really for the rest of the year moving forwards. So I think when we're talking about targets, testimonials are fine, but we also need to look at something that's measurable, don't we, James? So thinking about, I'm not just going to measure my candidate and client relationships in fields and revenue. I need to create some additional targets that I can measure myself or my consultants on that is going to help us to see whether we are providing a great service. So what would that look like? You know, if we provided the best service we possibly could in a year's time, what would that look like for our business? Long-term targets and then short-term observation targets, things that you can spot on your desk every day, in your business every day, week and month, that's going to prove to you that you're providing the service that you're supposed to. Because I think, you know, I don't know, KPIs have had a bit of a bad reputation. I like targets. I think targets are good. I like KPIs, metrics, smart data, whatever you want to wrap it up as, or sort of hide it, disguise it as to what it is. But it's essentially, it's KPIs. But they're great for getting a read, aren't they, James, of your market and your desk and your business, so that you can then make any subtle refinements where necessary.
Yeah, well, I want to bring that back, Joe, in terms to put a statistic in there that people know, and I want to explain the statistic. Well, I'm going to talk about the statistic and then how we actually measure it and why it's important. So one of the things that we're really proud of here at iIntro, and by the way, if you ever want to sort of share some time with us, we can happily get together on a 15-minute call and share with you a bit more about what we do, and there'll be a link to it later on in terms of how you can do that. But what we do, and the feature that you'll see on spread across our website, is we actually have a 96% retention rate of all people that we place are still in the job 1 year later. Now, we most often use that statistic with employers, of course. So an iIntro recruiter will talk to the fact that, you know, we 96% of the people we place are still in that role 1 year later. And you might think, well, so what? I'm 10 out of 10 myself, never mind your 9.6. But actually, we measure this statistic, you know, heavily, and we compare this, and we quite often ask clients to tell us, what's your new employee retention rate? And you know, statistically, it's somewhere between 70 and 80%. So let's call it 75%. 75% of all new employees make it to their first year anniversary, which means 25% don't. Now, what I want to bring this back around to candidate. What does that mean? Now, again, one of the things that we do and we encourage within the iIntro community is to, you know, when we're actually going out there when we're working with a client to go out there and attract candidates, you know, we believe that we're an extension of their brand in the marketplace. That's why they've engaged us. That's why they've retained us to go out there. And so we don't just work off a job description. We put together something called a candidate briefing pack, which is a full document. It could be 10, 15 pages long, full of information about the organization that we're trying to attract to, you know, i.e. the employer, why they're a great company to work for, their vision, their values, their mission, those type of things, as well as the job description. And we also talk about our process and how we carefully assess and select people. We don't just take any old CV that's been thrown at us just because someone's got the right job title and throw that back over the fence to the client and say, interview this person, we think they're really good. We assess and evaluate their candidate, and we use that statistic, that 96% statistic, to share with the candidates as well as the employers and say, listen, we're going to so carefully evaluate you. I'm going to look after you. I'm going to manage your career. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to place you and find that you're one of the 25%. And that statistic's true, by the way. You're one of the 1 in 4 people who won't be there in a year's time. Yeah, so I'm going to carefully evaluate and assess you to make sure. So if I put you as part of my shortlist, there's a very strong probability, let's call it 96%, that you will still be in that job 1 year later, which measures very favorably. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that this is a good career move for you. Because when you go out there and start asking candidates right now, what's your propensity to move? Some people are a little bit reluctant, because sometimes that old phrase, the grass is greener on the other side, it often isn't. Yeah, so from that side of things, you just got to be careful in terms of what you do. So we help our clients use that 96% statistic. Now, if you're not measuring your quality of work with your clients by the retention, because I believe the problem in recruitment today is not recruitment of people, it's actually the retention of people.
Yes.
So from that side of things, and we can then use that on the other side of the coin with the candidates to show them how good we are, how good you are at actually delivering the type of service, which means you're very focused on making sure that your candidates stay in place. Why? Because you don't want a candidate to leave, because that's bad on your reputation. And again, if you're an iIntro recruiter, that means you would be doing the work again, potentially free of charge, because we have a recruitment risk reversal policy of up to 12 months free replacement. So we're putting in place those measures, and we share those with the candidates as well, because as I said earlier, candidates are just clients in disguise, and we want to go back to those candidates as their career progresses, and hopefully they either become an influencer, worst case, or actually the decision maker who can engage us to deliver work for them. Yeah. So I think you've got to start thinking about measuring some of your statistics and think about how you can use them to set yourself some targets, set yourself some benchmarks for this year, and then start to think about how you can actually achieve candidates out. Because recruiters do say, it's difficult to get candidates to move at this moment in time. Well, that's because they don't know what you can do for them, how you're going to carefully assess them, how you will tell them that if this is the right opportunity for you or the wrong opportunity. Yeah, so I think there's a lot we can do there on that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the Google search that you just put in then, I think, tells you everything you need to know. There used to be a website called Recruitment Reviews, and that was a horrifying read for any recruiter. Again, it did a very similar thing. You know, it painted quite a bleak picture of the recruitment industry. So there are, you know, statistically speaking, around 50% of the candidate marketplace, or 50% of the marketplace, which is not actively looking for a job, but open to having a conversation. Now, for varying reasons, they aren't actively looking, either because the push factor within their current organization isn't big enough, or the pull factor of a new organization isn't big enough, or because there is a lack of confidence either in themselves, the market, or recruiters. So actually, you'll find if you start to look more at some of these qualitative targets and benchmarks, because you've got to benchmark where you are as a business first and then put targets in place to improve, haven't you? So we're kind of talking about KPIs and targets in the same breath, really. But if you start to put some more of those qualitative measures in place, you'll find that you probably get better candidates anyway, because you are then being different and providing that value. I know Plarman was talking in the comments then about the value, the value add. But yeah, think about how you can look at that. Now, some of the metrics that we tend to put in place in a recruitment business, such as, James, CV to interview and interview to placement ratios. Again, I quite like the relationship in between the numbers, more so than just the numbers on their own. So again, we're going for qualitative, not necessarily quantitative, although I think that's good for, working out what the recipe is. But that applies, looking at those ratios and looking at how you can make those better and setting targets in your business. Because if you're sending less CVs but getting more interviews, it means that you are providing a better service because your hit rate is becoming better. And so that doesn't just work in the favor of the client, it works in the favor of the candidate as well. So when you say to the candidate, look, for every 2 opportunities we send you, our averages are, you'll go to both interviews and you'll take one of them on, or 3 opportunities, 2 interviews, 1 placement. And then 96% of our people are there a year later, 94, 2 years later. So you're starting to show candidates that they will be safe in your process, because that's what people want. They want to be reassured that they are safe in your process. So if you don't have any statistics, data, benchmarking in your business that helps you to provide that to candidates, then that's probably a really good place to start.
And I'm just going to go back before we move on to the next point. Just going to go back over to that point I mentioned earlier, that I want you to think about, put yourself in the shoes of a candidate. A recruiter contacts me and says, I've got a great opportunity for you. They blather on for a few minutes, tell you what it is, and then they send you a half a page or a short email of, I'm working with a great client, they're really good, and I think you should come and work for them. Is that going to inspire you to actually sort of want to apply? And that's where, one of the things that we do at iIntro is we work with our clients to help you understand the methodology around engaging candidates successfully. Mm-hmm. And the candidate briefing pack is such a powerful document to help candidates understand that this is a serious and significant opportunity, because they've obviously engaged this recruiter to prepare this information. And this information is making me think, God, I'd love to go and work for that company. So again, it just actually helping the candidate attraction and getting those candidates who are sat on the fence, open to opportunities. As said, Joe, the 50% who are in the passive but interested if the right thing comes along. But think about yourself. If what you've just written isn't very interesting, you're not going to get much of a response. But when you send a fully thorough professional pack, anyway, we can help you with that. And please do get in touch with us, arrange a discovery call with us, and we'll sort of share with you what we're doing in a little bit more detail. So Joe, let's go on to the next point, which I'm really excited about as well. Oh, there you go, nice little link.
Yes, there it is. Look,
so there's a new thing. www.retained15.com, and that means we're just going to retain you for 15 minutes, just give you a quick overview. So please do book some time with us if you'd like to know a little bit more. So the next thing we said we'd talk about is the targets that will have employers open to paying a higher fee in 2023. So I think that I think what we need to talk about there, Joe, is again, it's one of these things. How do I get someone to pay higher fees? And sometimes we talk about in the training program, we run something, and Joe is the Academy Director for the Retained Recruiter Academy. And we have a strategy to work with your existing clients, which is called Defend to Extend. I love that title, Joe. So that's something that we do with people. But we've got some other ideas, haven't we, about what we can do to help you sort of increase your fees, or at least not have them reduced.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. I mean, where else in the world reduces their fee on an annual basis? Most fees for anything else, any other service provision, goes up on an annual basis, whereas recruiters is the only one where apparently the more work or the longer you work with the client, or whatever they're paying Joe Blogs recruiter down the road. All of these things then end up defining what you get paid. So we need to get all of those, put them in the bin and throw them in the sea, quite frankly, because they're all silly reasons for clients to try and justify paying you a lower fee. However, I do believe that if you don't work really hard to demonstrate the service you can provide evidence to suggest that you are different, and also show how that slightly increased upfront fee is hugely outweighed by the short, mid and long-term cost savings that you're going to give to that business, then most clients, because these are business people after all, most clients can see that you pay for what you get. And so the value that these clients is getting is in the, again, well, let's use that term, the safety and the risk reversal that you're giving them. Because, and actually this goes a bit deeper, doesn't it, James? Because this isn't about you're paying me to send you CVs, because we aren't professing to be CV vending machines. We've got to be, again, like you said before, this isn't just about, I want to put someone in your business. This is about, I want to put the person in your business that is right and who is going to stay and be happy and enable the growth of your business. That's what we're aiming for. So those targets that we're talking about, what to put in place in order to get a higher fee, it's like a counterbalance, isn't it? It weights down the amount of service provision you need to add. So I think we need to look deeper into what are the statistics or targets or benchmarks, case studies and evidence data do we have to suggest that we don't just put people in businesses, but we put people in businesses who stay.
And I think what you could do in terms of when you're trying to demonstrate, your differentiation, and again, we talk about this in the Retained Recruiter Academy, we talk about 3 pivot points that you can actually focus your conversations around on. I just want to focus on one of those for a moment, Joe. And it's we call it the reduction of commercial downtime. But let me explain what I mean by that. What we have to do is help clients understand, where they're currently wasting time, because time is money. Yeah, that's the one important thing. And a lot of time is wasted in the recruitment process. And so you have to use your qualification, in terms of when you're sort of, talking to the client to identify what the current recruitment process is, to help them understand where they're wasting time. Now, where they're wasting time is that they're wasting time interviewing candidates because their assessment criteria of a CV is just superficial. Somebody has done the same job in a different company, so therefore I'll see them because they've been doing it for 10 years. There's no depth in that. And again, our service proposition goes a lot deeper than that. And it's something that you need to think about exploring to show the client. But when you start to get them to quantify how much time they're wasting, just because people are throwing CVs at them, as you said, Joe, the CV vending machine route. Yeah. You guys in America, the resume vending machine that we also have. And the reality.
Can I call it a vending machine as well? Isn't there, there's a different word for it. Anyway, that's for a different session. Maybe we'll Google it.
Yeah, we'll Google it. We've done enough Googling today, Joe. We don't know what we'll find out. But in terms of when you have that, you've got to help the client understand that your job, as a management consultant who specializes in talent acquisition, is to help reduce the time they're wasting so they can focus more of their time on running their business. That's your job. Your job is to reduce that process and improve that process for them. And by helping them do that, you can then start to justify why you charge a higher fee. And I've just got a little bit of anecdotal evidence. Well, it's not anecdotal, it's anecdotal, it's coming from me, but this is a real story. And it goes from a few years back, because I'm not an active recruiter nowadays, which is something that people sometimes throw over the fence at you. Oh, it's different nowadays. Well, it's always different, isn't it? But here's a story, and it's all to do with the psyche of a recruiter and the psyche of an employer. Yeah, so we were pitching for some work. Now, we'd done some work with this organization. They were in the food industry, and they were a Danish company, and they were looking to appoint a new MD based in Manchester, based around the northwest. Manchester was the central base. And we'd worked with them at a slightly lower level than senior director level, and we'd done a good job for them. So we were invited they had a UK representative board advisor who was their person over here. And he said, okay, we'd like you to pitch for this MD role. And we said, great, tell us more about the role. And he told us what the role was, MD, 110K basic salary. So that was good for us. It was over and above what we were currently working at, which was a 60-70 grand. So excited to have the opportunity to pitch for it. And in our excitement, the psyche of the recruiter came in. What type of deal can we get? First of all, how much more money can we charge? And then secondly, how can we make it such an attractive financial deal that they say yes? Now, we were very fortunate to be coached by the client on this one, because the client wasn't the end client, he was the intermediary. And he said to us, he asked us, how are you going to pitch this one? So we said, well, listen, chancing our arm, we're going to charge 25%. Yeah, no, our average was 20%. So this was a 25% increase for us. Sounded good to us. Yeah. We said, okay, well, yeah, we're speaking to some of the other more well-known firms and they're charging 30% and above. But okay, now tell me, how are you going to charge a fee? And we said, oh boy, have we got the deal for you. We're going to charge you just £5,000 up front, which was at least double what we were used to charging. So we thought we're doing ourselves a favor. And then the rest, which would be £22,500, we'll charge you at the end. We'll show you how focused and motivated we are on actually, getting to the end point for you. And he looked at us and said, why would you do that? Is it too much? Is the 5,000 too much? That's what we were thinking. He said, my colleagues in Denmark, this is a really important hire to them. And they want to know that you're going to do your best job. Yeah. And if you've not been remunerated, appropriately, will you really give us your best efforts?
Yeah.
And it made us stop and think. And we were seeing it from a recruiter view. We've done you a great deal. And we weren't looking at it from the employer. They want the best people to go because they want the best people to come and work for them. And so in doing so, I learned a very important lesson that day. Don't think like a recruiter. Think like an employer. Put yourself in their shoes. Now, of course, they want the best deal, and there'll be people who haggle on price if that's the only thing that's important to them. But don't forget, there are other companies out there who want to know that you'll be remunerated successfully. You'll work harder for them if you're getting the right type of money.
Yeah.
So we did win the work, by the way. The other guys were going, 33%, a third. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Happy to go with that. But we were still a little bit green. This was on our journey as we were sort of migrating and transitioning into retained recruitment with the help of my intro. And if you've not been on that journey, please do get in touch with us. But we pitched it as 7.5K up front, 7.5 as the interim payment, and 12.5 at the end. So we showed them that we were taking a decent part of the fee because we were putting in all the effort up front, and that's what you're going to do. So you've sometimes got to put yourself in the eye of the client and not actually you as that recruiter.
Yeah.
And I think if you focus those efforts, you can actually charge better fees.
Yeah, I agree. And also that, a lot of people, I think recruiters are quite reticent to look at retainers because there is an idea that, I've got to charge them up front. Well, if the only value you place on your service is the CV you send and then placing that person, then that's the tip of the iceberg of what you actually do for a living. All the client sees is the 10% of what you show to them. The call to take the job brief, the candidates at interview, and then the person either in the job or not. They don't see the 90% of the work that goes on under the surface. That's what your value proposition is made up of. Yes, what you do for a living and how you do it, but then also how it benefits the client. So the reduction in commercial downtime, the fact that it's going to save them money when it comes to actually the overall cost of recruitment. And also, like you were talking about before, James, that the idea that you're going to help to improve their retention rate. So we use these 3 pivot points, don't we? Because we genuinely feel that these are core values to a client that we can add. But do you know what, interestingly, because every year, obviously all these targets come out, and internal recruiters and HR and everybody, all have targets when it comes to recruitment. And I was talking to someone that I know the other day, and I think this is quite poignant because it's not the first time I've heard it. And I think that a lot of other people would probably think the same thing. So an acquaintance of mine works in internal recruitment, and we were talking about how's this year going to look for you, how's it going to pan out, and she said yes. She said, so one of the things that we've been targeted here at insert name of company that I shan't mention is to reduce agency spend. I said, oh, is it? She said, yeah, it is. I said, okay, let me ask you a question. Are you sure? And I said, I don't mean to sound disrespectful or anything. Are you sure it's agency spend and it's not recruitment spend? And she said, no, it's recruitment spend, but it's the same thing, isn't it? I was like, no, it really, really isn't the same thing. I mean, it's counterproductive reducing your agency fees and then using more agencies. That's just silly. When you think about it from an employer's point of view, it doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, that's what they've been reduced to doing because of us, really. But actually, she was thinking that reducing recruitment spend, or the cost of recruitment was only the agency fee. It isn't at all. And what we're saying is if you provide a good service to your client, you're going to be able to provide metrics that shows them quite clearly that the fee that they pay is for the service you provide in order to save them money long term when it comes to their recruitment spend. What's that phrase you say about those, it comes from a barber's, isn't it? What is it? Oh no, yeah, go on then, say what yours is.
From the barbers. You talk to me about barbers.
You said you were in the barbers. There was a sign in the barbers. I don't know what you were doing in there.
No. It's interesting on the same topic of being, good recruitment isn't cheap and cheap recruitment isn't good. Darren's put a really nice point about, the fear of paying too much against the fear of paying too little. So if you've not read the comments, everybody, worth having a quick read.
Yeah, definitely.
Also put a suggestion. So that's really, really good as well. Listen, so the whole point there is making sure that you can show your client where you add value, and if you can add value, you can charge a higher fees. Just conscious of time, Joe, and there's one point we want to put in there to people as well.
Yes.
The final point of today, and we could probably get through it pretty quickly. And that's, in terms of the thing that will help you retain the best recruiters. And actually, if people look to build their teams, whether you're taking on newbies, people are going to, a lot of people now look and take on, the graduate type of person and grow them into their business, because it's become more and more difficult to find great recruiters out there in the marketplace. Or whether you're taking a great recruiter and actually sort of, showing them what can you do differently. I think overall for us, the point is some of the things we've just spoken about, having defined processes on how you attract candidates and how you look after candidates, having a defined methodology and process about why you charge better fees than the average. The average, according to the REC in the UK, for example, is around about 15%. So if you're charging 20, 25, 30%, what does that mean to the recruiter? It means they're going to earn more commission, of course. So from that side of things, they'll be really, really, really careful. So Joe, some of the points on that in terms of attracting recruiters and process, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and this is about attracting really good recruiters. So either, people who have no recruitment experience with the potential to become very fantastic, in which case I would say definitely use the iIntro platform to get those people into your business, because, you want that 96% retention of recruiters, which would be fabulous, wouldn't it? So definitely use iIntro to do it. I would definitely say that. But the second thing I think is the idea that you have a very clear process and a purpose and a set of values and a really strong value proposition to go out to the marketplace with. That's what people want. As a recruiter, I want them to be proud. We had statistics and data. We had testimonials, from like Virgin, who said, well, weirdly at the time, it was quite funny, but, if we asked you for a left-handed astronaut, you'd be able to find us one. We were proud to go out and tell people what our value proposition was, because, we had a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today. So I think that's really important. A company a place where people feel proud, they feel recognized, they feel heard, they feel as if they can progress in whatever way they want to. Some people, it's not always money, it's something else. I think that's very, very important. But also as well, James, I think an environment where, it's all right to make mistakes. It's all right to experiment. It's all right to try these things out as a collective. I think that's really important as well. But all of these things, if you build it, they will come. That's what they say. But if you build a really solid infrastructure for your business that's different, that's got some really solid value to it, you will attract amazing recruiters, because they will want to come and work for your business. And once you've got them, they'll want to stay there. What is it? You're supposed to recruit people, train people, definitely train them, because that's what we're here to sort of plug. Yes, get that one in. Definitely train them. You're supposed to train them so that they could leave, but then retain them so they won't want to.
Yeah.
So again,
well, that's all that fear about training people, isn't it? And about putting in place good process. The fear is if I train my people really well, they might leave. And the alternative is, well, don't train them, and then what happens if they stay? Who are trained. Yeah. So you've got that part as well, and having in place a good structure for the business who can show those potential employees of yours that you've actually got a consistent process that delivers consistent outcomes. Therefore, they're going to be at the top of their game in the market, delivering a high quality, high value add service. Is certainly there. And if you want to talk to us and see if we can help you, we not only offer the iIntro platform and processes that are going to deliver that. It's got superb methodology, but actually we're here to help you take your people and train them better. We run the Retained Recruiter Academy. And we run programs on that throughout the year. Every month is what we do. So pretty much most weeks we're running sort of academy programs to help you with both new and experienced consultants make that transition. So please do get in touch with us. And if you want to just have a quick discovery call with us for 15 minutes, the link will appear on the bottom. He hopefully says, as if by magic, down there. Please appear. And there you go. Look at that. Thank you very much. Well, listen, time has flown. We've covered a number of points. I hope you found some fascinating points and insights to help you with. That's what we're here for. Remember, we're going to have some very special guests coming up. And again, it's good to hear their voice as well.
Can I just mention, we have got a library. I think we can technically class it as a library. It qualifies as a library. All of our old shows are now on YouTube. So if you go in and put Retained Recruiter Show, There are loads. There's like 40 of them. I mean, we're pretty much, that's season 1 and 2 of something. So you could binge watch these, and they're free and they're readily available for everybody. So if you're listening,
on the
grab the link,
channel.
share them with your teams. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Netflix us.
Yeah, indeed. It's coming next year, maybe. Yeah. Listen, anyway, it's been great to see you today, Jo. I'll catch up with you soon. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in, listening, watching, whatever you've been doing. Have a great week. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next Retained Recruiter show. So from me, it's thank you very much and goodbye.
And from me, thanks very much. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.